Chapter 27 deals with soccer. This is the fourth chapter of the six chapters that we are going to have on our final exam. And just like all the other sports skills, you're going to see that these skills should begin somewhere during the intermediate grade levels, which is grades 3, 4, and 5. They should have been exposed to some, minor kicking the ball and stuff in earlier grades, first grade and second grade. But now we're actually going to get into the basic rules and the strategies for soccer. And we're going to have a proper progression, just like anything else, teaching fundamental skills and using lead up games. Soccer is one of the most popular sports for our American youth. It is definitely one in which they are most active because of all the running that needs to take place, except for the goalie. And I want you to know that effective soccer instruction stresses position play. Position play, in contrast to a group of children just chasing and running after the ball. So they have to learn the forward positions as well as other positions that are required. So we want to organize our practices in a way that the students are handling the ball as much as possible. You know, my rule of having the students always uh, kicking, dribbling the ball, not handling the ball with their feet whenever they're going to and from, transporting the balls, changing games, skills, whatever it may be. Get them the mindset that soccer is dribbling with the feet. You want to organize your practices to where, as I said, the handling of the ball. And if you want to be successful, success depends on how well each individual, their individual skills, are used in a coordinated effort to play as a team. So each individual has their jobs, their roles, and as a teacher, if you're not very familiar with soccer, that's okay. It's not as complicated. It's pretty easy to teach, but you want them to know their individual skills. We need to make some modifications for the children. And one modification is we can have them use smaller size soccer balls. Fear is a common factor, whether it's soccer, basketball, softball, volleyball, that they're going to get hit or it hurts them. So in soccer, we can use smaller size soccer balls. What also works very well is beach balls for the real little ones. But you can only find beach balls in the spring or summer. So if you want to do this in the fall, you need to buy your beach balls when it's in the stores. But it's very good for teaching them. If you're not in a windy playground area, you can use the beach balls. If you're in a gym, it will work well. You can also use fewer players per team. You don't have to do the regulation number of players. And you can modify the size of the goal. Normally the goal is 24 feet wide. And so that's pretty large for elementary school children. So you can modify it to about 18 feet wide. And are we going to take a measuring stick out there? No. You're going to take a giant step 6 times. And 6 times 3 is 18. So that's about the size where you'll put your cones. For developmental level 2, which is grades 3 and 4, there's 2 basic skills you want to make sure the students can do. The first one is called, or is stated, controlling the ball or being able to stop the ball with the foot. There are 2 basic ones that we do with the foot that we'll go into greater detail about shortly. For developmental level 3, the sole of the foot or the inside of the foot. And the second skill that you want them to learn in 3rd and 4th grade is how to pass the ball with the foot. Now you may say that's not difficult, but making sure you pass it to the receiver and not 5 feet away from the receiver, or passing to a target. Because we can pass using the inside of the foot or the outside of the foot, and we have long passes. So there's numerous passes that we can do for uh, developmental level 2. For developmental level 3, this is where they're talking about dribbling skills introduced. I basically believe we should start that in developmental level 2, and you'll see on a table that I'm about to show you that they do introduce it in developmental level 2. But you want to make sure they get pretty efficient at it in developmental level 3, grade 5. You also want them to be able to control the ball with other body parts. They're talking about your thigh to stop the ball or your chest to stop the ball, and also how to use your head for heading. I personally don't believe in teaching that in 5th grade unless you do that with a volleyball. In 5th grade, you definitely introduce the game of actual soccer, rather. I said volleyball earlier, soccer. And what are your basic goalkeeping skills introduced? I'm going to show you that chart. We're about to get to it in our next slide. But goalkeeping, how to stop the ball, catch the ball. That's the only person that can actually catch the ball. Instructions on shooting, which means you're trying to make a goal. Tackling, which we're going to get into that shortly. But actually, tackling is not probably what you're thinking. Tackling is trying to get the ball away from the person dribbling the ball. You're not actually tackling them like you do in football. Heading, jockeying. See, jockeying, knowing when to make a tackle and when not to, is one of the most difficult skills to learn. Okay. The definition of tackling is a move to take the ball away from the opponent who is dribbling. And that's what I was saying earlier. The concept of two-touch soccer. So learn the basics of team play, positional play, and the regular games rules. So developmental level 3, 5th grade. On page 659, they talk about all the different soccer skills. So this is many areas that I want you to know about. So offensively, we're teaching them how to pass, kick, control, dribble, and volley, and shoot. So dribbling is the first skill that I want you to know about. I want you to know the definition of dribbling: moving the ball with a series of taps or pushes to cover the ground while still retaining control. So we know we can dribble with the inside or the outside of the foot. Mostly it's the inside of the foot. So I want you to be familiar with the instructional cues there. Keep your head up in order to see the field. Move on the balls of your feet, which is not your heel part, but the ball, so you can run faster. Contact the ball with the inside, outside, or the instep of your foot, the instep where your shoelaces are. Number 4, keep the ball near the body so it can be controlled. You don't want to kick it too far in front of you because that's not control, and somebody could possibly steal the ball from you. And then number 5, drill the ball with a controlled tap. Controlled tap. So that's dribbling. Second skill is passing. And passing, we know, is done with the outside or the inside of the foot rather than with the toe. So passing. Ball control. Oh, let's look at the different types of passing. I want you to know these. Inside of the foot pass, they talk about on page 659. I want you to know the inside of the foot pass is the one that's used for accurate passing. If you're going to do distances of up to 15 yards. 15 yards, 45 feet, that's pretty far. Some people call this the push pass instead of the inside the foot pass. But no matter what, you as a passer, you're going to place that non-kicking foot well up alongside the ball, and then you're going to take your kicking foot backwards and turn the toe out, and the toe remains turned out, and you kick with the inside of the foot where it's about perpendicular to the line of flight that you're doing. So it's a lot to do with the non-kicking foot as well as kicking foot. Then we have the outside the foot pass. Some people call it the flick pass. It's more to the side of the ball rather than the inside of the foot kick. The long pass is another pass that some people call it the shoelace kick, because it's kind of like when you played kickball in elementary, where you kick the ball with the shoelace part of your foot, of your shoe. So the long pass is the power pass in soccer. That's what I want you to know. When you're going to kick it very far, you use what's called the shoelace kick or the long pass. For beginners, they often use the toes when making this pass, so I want you to know that if you use your toes, this can cause you injury or an inaccurate kick. So you should not use your toe to make a long pass or shoelace kick. Ball control is another soccer skill. I want you to know that's called trapping. Ball control, trapping. So I want you to know learning to receive a ball and getting it in the ideal position so you can make a good pass or a shot is one of the most vital skills that you can learn. I also want you to know one of the best measures of a skilled player is to see how quickly that student or person can bring the ball under control with the feet, the legs, or the torso. Because the more control you have of the ball when you get it before you kick it or do whatever you're going to do with it, the better, the more likely the chance that you're going to succeed in what you were trying to do. So ball control is actually trapping, where you're going to actually get the ball under control some type of way. So what are the different types of traps I want you to know? The inside of the foot trap, I want you to know, is the most common method of control. There's a picture there for you on page 660 where you give with the ball's rolling towards you, and you use the inside of your foot to stop it, to trap it. The chest and thigh trap, there's a picture of that on page 661. I personally don't believe we should teach that at this young of age level, but then again, that doesn't mean I'm right. Some people may choose to teach it. If I would use a beach ball. The other trapping skill I want you to know is the sole of the foot trap. And this method is not used as often because I want you to know for beginners, they're less successful in using the sole of the foot trap compared to the inside of the foot trap because it's difficult to get your timing right. If the ball's moving slow towards you, you can use the sole of your foot to stop the ball, to trap the ball. But if your timing's not right, and beginners have a difficult time with that timing element of when to put the sole of the foot on the top of the ball to stop it, so it's can be challenging. So you want them to use the inside of the foot trap when you're working with this with beginners. The next soccer skill I want you to know about is heading. And I want you to know this is a special kind of volleying in which a player may realize that ball's not coming down to their feet. So they're going to have to use their head as a way to change the path of that ball and go in the opposite direction, making the ball go in the opposite direction. I personally don't think we should teach that. And again, if you do decide to teach it, use a beach ball. Some defensive maneuvers that I want you to know. The first one I want you to know, as I said earlier, is tackling. And this is not like tackling in football that we know about. This is a move to take the ball away from the opponent who is dribbling. The most common type of tackle is the front block, where you come in from the front and you take the ball away from them. So I want you to know the stronger the ball contact, the better the chance of controlling it. The stronger the ball contact, the better the chance of controlling it. So your body contact has to be avoided because that could be constituted as a foul. So you got to be careful on what you're doing when you're trying to take the ball away from it. So how much tackling should you teach in elementary school? It's probably best to just teach some tackling skills that involve the defensive player remaining upright and don't get fancy where they're lying down and using their feet to take the ball away and stuff. Just stick to the very basics of tackling. Jockeying is knowing when to make a tackle and when not to. Throw-ins. I'm going to show you a picture of a throw-in shortly on one of our PowerPoint slides. But there's some things I want you to know about throw-ins. This is number one. I want you to know this is the way to place the ball into play. You're going to use two hands over the head, and both feet have to be in contact with the ground. So I want you to know the rules. Number one, both hands must be on the ball. Number two, the ball must be released from over the thrower's head. Number three, the thrower must face the field. Number four, the thrower cannot step onto the field until after the throw-in. Number five, both feet must be in contact with the ground until the ball is released. And number six, the thrower cannot play the ball until after another player on the field touches it. So know the rules for throw-ins. And I'm going to have a PowerPoint slide shortly to show you on how to throw in the ball. Shooting, I want you to know, is scoring. That scoring a point is called shooting. Then we got goalkeeping, is where you're blocking the shots by catching the ball, stopping the ball, any way to deflect the ball, and this is the only person that can use his hands besides throwing in the ball. And then punting, usually done by the goalkeeper, or can only be done by the goalkeeper rather, and they can be in a stationary position or they can do it on the run, where somebody tried to shoot the ball and the goalie caught it, and then he can hurry up or she can hurry up and punt the ball to get it back into the playing field. For each sport chapter, they have a table like this one, in which on the left side is for developmental level 2, on the right side is for developmental level 3. And as you see here, the skills that should be taught in developmental level 2, dribbling, inside the foot pass, long pass, foot trap, passing, goalkeeping, defensive movers, and soccer rules. The activities you can teach for soccer: circle kickball, diagonal soccer, dribble rammer, bullseye, sideline soccer. These are all in the book. And then for the skills test, a controlled passing, kicking for accuracy, and place kicking. For developmental level 3, notice they include developmental level 2, but they add for the skills outside the foot pass, ball control and trapping. They still have passing, tackling, kicking goals. They're adding all this other stuff for 5th grade. So it gets more serious in 5th grade, and where you actually play the game of soccer in 5th grade. Then the games that you can add to and include to developmental level 2 games or activities: mini ball soccer, over the top, lane soccer, line soccer, mini soccer, and then actually regulation soccer. Then we get into skills tests for figure 8 dribbling, controlling, punting, and penalty kicking. So it gets more serious in the 5th grade, developmental level 3. On the left, you see how to do the inside of the foot pass. Notice his toes are pointing outward, like I said earlier. To make contact, it's almost perpendicular to the ball. On the right side, you see the boy trying to stop the ball with the inside of his foot. And we don't use the word stop. In soccer, we use the word controlling the ball. This is what I was talking about earlier, the chest trap, where you use the chest to try and teach them how to trap the ball instead of the sole of the foot or the inside of the foot, because they've already learned that. And again, if I would teach that, I would use a beach ball. On the right side, here's an example of a goalie using his hands to catch a ball that's coming below the waist. Here's my little man showing you how to throw the ball in for soccer. Notice 2 hands on the ball, over the head, both feet in contact with the ground. On page 662, they talk about instructional procedures on how to teach soccer. Number 1 talks about emphasizing controlling the ball and passing, and organizing your drills and activities to keep all the children involved and active. If you can have 1 ball per 2 children, that would be awesome. The second suggestion is using many combination drills featuring offense and defense, but you want them to have fun doing it through drills and lead-up activities. Number 3 talks about using small group games where you only have 2 to 5 players per team. Number 4 talks about lead-up games designed to use the skills practice in the drills. But number 5, I want you to know they talk about a grid system that is useful when organizing drills, activities, and small-sized games. So on page 663, figure 27.6, they're showing a 50-yard area and marked off every 10 yards. So you got 5 different groups here, and they're working in a 20-yard distance. And they're showing 3 versus 1, 2 versus 2, 1 versus 1, 1 versus 2, and how these different players have these different sections and these different parts or squares of the boundaries depending on your class size. And they can work on tackling, possession, keeping possession, or passing diagonally or sideways. But these grid systems work well, so I want you to know that. Number 6 talks about using balls that are smaller and lighter. We already talked about that. Number 7 talks about soccer with its attack and defense. Can be a rough game, so you need to control the rough play. And number 8 talks about modifying your scoring to make the activity more enjoyable for the kids. Soccer drills on page 663. I want you to know teachers typically use 2 types of soccer drills. Number 1, players practice technique without opposition from any defense. So it's just the person by himself or herself with the ball, no defensive person on the side trying to get the ball. And number 2, players practice the skills in a drill involving both the offense and defensive players and maybe even a target. Okay, so individually without the defense, and then secondly, you want to progress to the defense and maybe even a third progression, actually trying to score at a target. We have individual work. On page 664, we have our drills for 2 players that are included in, some of these are included in our outline. Drills for 3 players. We have in our outline drills for 4 or more players. On page 667, they're talking about a shooting drill. And they're with this particular drill, you had people on each people on each side of the half court, and the goal was in the center, so you have balls going both ways. So in something like that, if you're doing this drill, I want you to know to use at least 4 balls for this 2-way drill. Balls are going back and forth, and no goalkeeper in the middle. So this is just a way of learning how to shoot the ball. So use at least 4 balls for this 2-way drill. You have your basic soccer rules for lead-up games in the book that you can read about. It's very short, not even a page. And then we have our soccer activities starting on page 669. Circle kickball, diagonal soccer, dribble rama, bullseye. That's development level 2. Then we progress to development level 3, 5th grade. And then we have some more serious lane soccer, line soccer. And then you have a mini soccer game, MINI. 6-spot keep away can be fun. It's a lead-up game. And then you actually have the regulation game of soccer on page 674. So if you read that one page, you could learn a lot about the game of soccer if you're not familiar with it. Because once you do, you'll find that it's one of the easiest sports to teach. On page 675, we have a soccer skills test, passing against a wall, figure 8 dribbling, controlling. And figure 8 dribbling, I think, is on our outline.